Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Longbox Guy. Oh shit! I'm so screwed. This thing's gonna take forever. It's gonna feel like an eternity, but we'll get to that in a minute. Mike, how you doing, and what are you drinking?
I am doing fine, and I am drinking a Fest beer from Counterweight Brewing here in Connecticut. It's
Hold that up. Let's
delicious.
see the can, man. That's a cool looking can. That is a cool looking can. I am not
Yep.
stalling. Josh, how you doing? What are you drinking?
I'm drinking a similar beer, a Marzen from Treehouse called Solitude.
Nice. I like that can. That's a good looking can. And Tommy, we're the hard liquor guys. What do you got there today, buddy?
I am drinking something similar. I am drinking Orchard Fest by Compass Box. It is a blended scotch by Compass Box.
It's got a lot of apples on there, so it's kind of an appley aftertaste. But
Kind of a fruity scotch. Pretty blended scotch.
I'm going with good old Bushmills. Bushmills. When you want a bottle that's square, Bushmills.
Bushmills. Bushmills are good. I like Bushmills.
I have been drinking Bushmills forever, ever since Spider Robinson recommended it to me in Callahan's Cross Time Saloon. Speaking of cross time and speaking of eternity, today we're going to be talking about The Eternals, a comic book I know a little bit about, and a movie I didn't make it through yet because I'm still a young man. How long is that movie, guys?
Can we say spoilers?
We're going to say
Yeah.
spoilers. We should clearly say spoilers, but how long is the movie? That's not a spoiler. It's
Oh,
not the
it's
comics, man.
Like two and a
It's
half.
like 2.5 hours too long.
That was too long. So we'll break it down into the comic book, which I know a little bit about because I kind of like the comic book. I like the idea of the comic book, the premise of the comic book, but I never really liked the way it was done. But I did love the art style because, of course, the art style was impeccable. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm going to go straight from the seat of my pants because I hate it when we read from a wiki page. But I did do my research on the comic book. So the Eternals are an offshoot of humanity called Homo Superior. Is that correct?
Homo immortal.
Mortis.
Homo
Immortus.
Immortus. That's right.
Yeah,
Homo
You're right,
Immortus.
LT.
They were first created by the Celestials when they came to Earth because they saw that humans' genes, or the genes of our primitive ancestors, were highly mutable. So they wanted to see what they could make out of them. The first round of testing, they made they made a few of the tests, and those were the
Yes.
deviants. Thank you very much. These are pretty much the orcs of the world. These are a mutant offshoot that did not turn out pretty happy or friendly, but they do breed incredibly rapidly. So these are clearly my ancestors. After the first round of testing went wrong, they tried again, and now is when they started making the more superior Homo Immortus. The Homo Immortus were...
Oh, let's see how it is now. All of a sudden, you're getting on your master race. I see
Well, so
how it
that's
is
the thing.
now.
I know I'm a deviant. Don't be looking at me. I'm in the hot box with everybody else eating delicious pizza. Why Homo Immortus is lording it over us?
So I think we should back up just a second. You're going into their comic book history, but let's talk about their actual publication. Starting in 1976, Jack Kirby returns to Marvel Comics. He was one of the creators of Marvel Comics with Stan Lee, and he had a falling out, went over to DC Comics, created the New Gods, loved that, and then came back to Marvel and was like, I'm still going to do this, but I can't call it the New Gods. I got to call it something else. So after a few name changes, they came up with the Eternals. His book is psychedelic,
Convoluted.
convoluted drivel, but
the
pretty to
artwork-
look at.
But the
Real
artwork
pretty.
is insane.
It did not sell well, and the comic book was canceled fairly quickly. They didn't finish any of the storylines, so much so that some of Kirby's fans, who became writers later on, finished some of the storylines in other Marvel comics. It has had several different people give it a go of trying to make a successful Eternals comic, including like Neil Gaiman, and none of it has been good, in my opinion. I mean, I'm sure there are some Eternal fans out there who are like, Eternals are my jam.
Woo!
I've never met him, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who's just such a Kirby fanatic that he can
They
do.
are illiterate art fans. Is my best guess on that one. But Tommy, you and I love, we all love the artwork. But Tommy, you're a super aficionado of the artwork.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
is beautiful to
love,
look at, right?
I love the art. The artwork is beautiful, and even the derivatives have been trying to keep with the Kirby-esque style of artwork and the character design, and a lot of times it's still beautiful. And I tried to read some of the Neil Gaiman book in preparing for this because it's been sitting on my shelf for, I don't know, probably a dozen years, and I tried to read it while watching the Eternals. And both seem to last forever.
See, I like some of the original Eternals comic books. I enjoyed reading those.
And
but mostly for the art.
And I did it during COVID time. So I think it did last forever.
I have a name for the century, by the way. We're going to call it the Boring 20s.
So I stole your thunder when you were going into the history of the Eternals. I just wanted to give people a background on the publication history.
Nope, you were perfectly right to do that because I wasn't as hip. I mean, of course, I knew Kirby. I was about to start mentioning that. So the Eternals start making a bond with the Olympians. They put their base of operation near Mount Olympus, and they start being stand-ins for the Olympian gods in different ways, which I thought was kind of interesting and fun. Then they go through a bunch of new stuff because that's pretty close to where the old stuff ends. And not all of it is for everyone. One is where the deviants actually take over the planet. All the humans have to be put on a space ark and saved, thereby kind of grabbing some Catholic stuff out of the thin air. And it's not for me. But
and let's not forget that some of the Eternals go out into space, and maybe the Titans are now Eternals.
Yeah. So
they go to Uranus. Let's not forget Uranus, Tom. All right.
Oh yes,
they're on Uranus. They're on Titan.
Yeah.
There's a number of Eternals all over the place.
Yeah.
The Earth Eternals are supposed to be the representation of famous mythological characters. So you have Ajax and Icarus and Circe and Makari and Sprite and all the ones that, the ones that you see in the movies. And then I had somebody call me up and he's like, I don't get it. How is Thanos related to these folks? And I was like, oh, well, there are Eternals on Titan, and there's the Eternals have a deviant gene. So depending on which comic you're reading, the deviants are an offshoot of the Eternals. They're just the ugly ones.
Yeah,
and
which
that's
I never liked as a kid. I'm like, oh man.
That's what Thanos is. So he's a deviant, even though his parents were Eternals, and he has a brother who is very good looking and very rapey, named Star Fox. I'm sorry,